Hey guys, this is Jonathan from the podcast. Wanted to give Bryan and Chewie a little extra time off, so I thought this would be a good opportunity to share one of my favorite episodes from the back catalog for a movie that became an instant favorite. Why Don't You Play in Hell? If you like movies about Yakuza and movies about filmmaking, then boy is this the movie for you. Anyway, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled episodes next week with some format changes coming swiftly down the pipeline, so look out for that. As always, you can find us at athpod.com, ATH_podcast on Twitter, and After the Hype on Facebook. We've also got the Venture Bros podcast, which is currently in season 4, and the Samwise podcast, which is answering each and every one of your questions using Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy, and my own podcast, Demon Days, an actual play podcast with a focus on fiends and the friends who play them. Without further ado, let's get to that episode of ours on Why Don't You Play in Hell?
So, fuck yes, welcome to After the Hype. I'm your host, as always, Brian Dressel. With me, as always, is Jonathan Hardesty.
I'm here.
Chewie Darso.
I'm ready.
Emily Blake is not here.
She's not ready.
No, she's not ready.
No.
I don't remember why she's not.
in
She has to
Anaheim.
work, right?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think she's
She's off doing something
not
else.
Well, if you recall all our great screenplay ideas from a couple weeks
Yeah,
ago,
she's off writing those.
she's writing those, yeah.
That's what she's doing.
we got her on the podcast during a downtime. And now she's like killing it as a script supervisor. So she has all these jobs.
Work.
Jobs.
Success, what is that?
And special guest today, we have Graham Skipper here. Hi, Graham.
Fuck a bummers! What's going on?
It's a good intro.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. We did a big promotion back in the day when we did our Green Room episode on the movie Beyond the Gates, which I think Graham's familiar with.
I never heard of it.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to plug beyond the Gates, which is on Netflix now? People should check it out.
Yeah, check out Beyond the Gates. I wrote and directed a movie. It's called Sequence Break.
That's exciting.
And it's out on the festival circuit right now. And will be out wide on Shudder, the amazing streaming service, sometime next year. We don't know when. If you're in LA, we're having our LA premiere as part of Beyond Fest. Over at the Egyptian on October 8th. So super stoked about that.
We like the Egyptian.
Are tickets just available?
Our movie is a free screening, so it's
Okay.
first come, first serve. We're October 8th at 7:30 p.m., so I think tickets are available starting at 6, and just show up and grab a ticket and come see a weird Cronenbergian biomechanical hallucinatory trip down the rabbit hole starring Chase Williamson.
That's a hell of a pitch.
Yeah.
Chase was also in Beyond the Gates,
He
right?
was, he played my brother.
As long as it's not like Naked Lunch.
No, not so much Naked Lunch. It's more like Tetsuo the Iron Man meets like Altered States.
I can handle that.
Yeah.
Just Iron or Naked Lunch had a lot of things, and I'm like, I never need to see that again.
Yeah.
You might also remember Graham from being a severed head in the background of some of our
Yes.
videos.
Many of our videos.
And a severed head. I think that head has been used in a lot of movies at this point.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? If you've got a headline around, you might as well use it.
I want
There's
to.
2.
There are, yeah. They said they have more too.
I'm sure that they do. I want to do like a drinking game at some point, and just line up a whole bunch of movies where my head's somewhere in there. And you see it and drink.
I mean, that'd be a hell of a game.
Yeah, spot the head.
Spot the head.
And it's not a porno.
All right, well, let's do a quick where have you been doing? I will go first with I have so many things that I've been doing, and I don't know. I've been watching a show. I'm not sure. Some people have heard of it. It was kind of popular, I guess. Maybe you haven't. It's Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Oh, okay.
For some reason, I never got into this show. I don't know why. I just never gave it the time of day. And it turns out I'm a big fan. It turns out I really like Seinfeld and
Surprise.
everything Larry David. So
Yeah.
the reason I didn't watch this show is beyond me. It's really fucking good. Like, really good.
It's so frustrating.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's Seinfeld with no Seinfeld. It's just all Costanza, which he gets really mad whenever somebody brings up how much like Costanza he is. But that's... Or how stupid Costanza is. That's the way it goes. But whatever. But yeah, it's fantastic. If you've ever enjoyed Seinfeld or Larry David and you're like me and never gave it a shot for some stupid reason, you're being as dumb as I was and you should go watch it.
So that does bode well with me eventually watching that.
You should. Do you like Seinfeld?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no reason to not watch it.
Okay.
That's
Cool.
it. That's. I mean, it's Seinfeld where they can say fuck a lot, and they do a lot.
Right.
Who wants to go next?
I'll go next. One of my friends recently posted one of those "Have you seen it?" Movie links, and it was all like the top 100 worst movies of all time. How many have you seen?
Is this how a movie ended up on my lamp?
Is it down Periscope?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Because I started taking it, and down Periscope was one of the top 10, and I was just like, this is bullshit. I love down Periscope. I'm going to go watch it right now, because I have a DVD copy of it back from Blockbuster when you could buy the used versions, and I have that.
I think it still has the used sticker
It
on it.
does. So I rewatched down Periscope. It had been a while. Now, as a little bit older, a little more mature, the girl falling in love with her superior seems a little inappropriate. And just all the sexual harassment towards her. But that was supposed to be the comedy of, like, there's a girl in a submarine. They're not supposed to be here.
Down Periscope.
But, I mean, it's absurd. It's a dumb comedy, and I still enjoy it. Kelsey Grammer dressing up as a pirate and making Rob Schneider walk the plank is fantastic.
Yeah.
Rob Schneider is in that movie.
Rob Schneider is.
Rob Schneider, before he told people not to vaccinate his kids, is great. And now I'm rewatching Frasier because I'm just in a Kelsey Grammer move.
You're not going to watch X-Men 3?
I might do that, but no, I'm not going to do that. It's X-Men 3.
It's a fair point. John, what about you?
So I saw a horror film this weekend, but it's not the one you guys are thinking about. I watched a horror anthology show called XX, and it's a horror anthology directed and written by women. And I'd heard about it a while ago, but kind of forgot about it until I saw it on Netflix. I was just kind of... Usually when it's late at night, I get in the mood to watch horror films, so I just kind of scroll the streaming services and I'm like, what could be fun? And this one stuck out to me on the premise, and it was really good. It was 4 stories, all kind of dealing with some take on motherhood. And they kind of hide that's the theme for a little bit, and it's like, oh, that's kind of cool how they weave it together. There's it's just really well done, really well acted, well produced, well made. And it's definitely worth checking out. And all the stories are really well done. And I liked it way more than ABC's of Death 1 and 2. And I kind of hate those movies because they are just...
You're the ones who told us to watch them.
Yeah.
You were the one on this podcast like, oh, you should check these out. They're really good.
I've gone back to them. And
He's mature.
I've matured. Well, I think what it is it's anthology movies always kind of have a hit or miss element to them. And especially in ABC's of Death 2, which I think soured me on those, is there's about nothing. They're all about just random horror elements, and they're just there. There's no reason for any of them. Whereas this tries to kind of explore something thematically across all of them, having a more darkly comedic one, a more typical slasher one. Kind of like they kind of cover different aspects of horror, and they actually kind of are more cohesive. And yeah, so just I like this one a lot better. Kind of coming like after watching the other ones a few times and kind of thinking about it some more. I like what this one's trying to do more than just being a grab bag of horror shorts kind of assigned to a letter of the alphabet. I think this one works better and is a little bit more worth it if you want something more from the anthology.
Okay. Yeah. I don't usually watch a lot of the anthology films just because, like you said, they're all grab bag.
They're all grab bag, and I think the gimmick... I hate calling it a gimmick because that's not like, it's just a bunch of gals got together and wanted to make a really cool anthology horror thing, and it works. But I think that too helps because it feels very much like a different perspective. So,
Graham, what about you?
Well, I've been seeing a lot of movies lately. I've been traveling around on the film festival circuit, so I've been seeing just like a ton of stuff. So I won't go into too many of those because, some of them aren't movies that are out yet and whatever. I mean, there's an amazing movie called Lowlife that I saw. Keep your eyes open for that. I saw the new Hatchet movie, Victor Crowley. It's awesome, super violent. Last night, I saw a little movie. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of It. It's called It.
It?
Yeah, I saw that.
Which one?
It.
It.
What is it?
Or maybe it's IT. It might be about like a technical...
Oh, it's like the IT
thing.
crowd movie?
Yeah, the IT crowd movie, yeah.
Cool.
That's why I was very confused.
Yeah, I saw that last night. Fucking awesome. I think the thing that I wanted to bring up was I, for whatever reason, have been marathoning. I got back from the UK recently, so I'm jet lagged, so I've been awake all night, and so I've been watching all the old Universal monster movies.
Oh, cool.
Oh, we did that last year or 2 years ago.
For
And
October, yeah.
they're so good. You know,
Yeah.
I hadn't watched them in a long time. I think the one that sort of surprised me the most was The Invisible Man, because I hadn't seen that one. You know, like every year, like around Halloween, I watch like Bride of Frankenstein and Creature from the Black Lagoon. Like I think those are my favorite ones. But like Invisible Man's totally crazy. You know, and especially when you think of when these movies came out, how that must have been to an audience back then. I mean, they must have lost their fucking minds.
Oh yeah, it was very well done.
Yeah, they're all really good. And there's like a Blu-ray box set that has, you know, all of the films, and they have really interesting commentaries with film historians on them. And the commentaries are fascinating because, like, you know, you hear about, like, you know, all these actors were huge Broadway stars, you know, or like the woman in The Wolfman that plays, I can't remember her name, she was like the old gypsy lady, you know, she studied with Stanislavski at the Moscow Art Theater. Like, she was a major actress at the time, you know, and it just put all those movies in a whole new perspective for me. So I've been really enjoying those. Yeah, so I guess that's what I've been watching. Go back and check those out. They're really good, and there's some really cool stuff in them, and the acting is like, I think, you know, it's such a great example of what the top actors were doing back then. It's pretty cool.
Have you watched the Abbott and Costello one yet?
No, I haven't yet. I watched that when I was a kid.
Okay.
That was, I mean, I've seen it before. But yeah, that'll be that'll be up
amazing.
next. The one I gotta watch is the Phantom of the Opera, not the silent one, but the one with like Claude Rains.
I don't think I've ever seen that one.
Yeah, they did it in Technicolor, and I've seen it before, and I remember it not being my favorite one. But I'm gonna give that one a revisit.
I would also recommend, like, after you're going through all those Universal ones, jump right to the William Castle stuff, because that's almost like a good follow up. And I think
I was hoping you were going to say jump right to the Tom Cruise one.
no, like, because that was one of my first kind of memories out here, going to a specific theater that won't be named. They had a William Castle series, and they used all the gimmicks in the theater. So, like,
I went to the same series.
yeah, and it was so great. And those movies are like, if you go from Universal to that, I think that'd be a really great set of just, man, that'd be an awesome month of just watching those movies. And
But yeah, they're great. Go revisit them.
Cool.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Cool. I think that's everything for Where Have You Been Doing?
Yeah.
I think it's time to start talking about a little movie called Why Don't You Play in Hell?
Talk about it!
So the reason we're doing this movie today was really just because I've been wanting to do a Sion Sono movie for a long time, because I really love this director. And then Tag just recently came to Netflix. I'm like, oh, we're going to do Tag. And then I looked into Tag, and I'm like, that one might be a little rough to talk about. Let's just dial it back to one that was really popular. And we did Why Don't You Play in Hell? Although you should still see Tag if you haven't.
You should see any Sion Sono movie.
Oh, they're so good.
I was very skeptical of Tag while we were watching it. I was like,
Yeah.
where's this movie going?
you really
and then
have
the
to-
ending was great.
You have to power through the first third, because you're going to be watching it going, so I'm just watching upskirt shots for what reason? And
And
it's
what's the problem?
It's a lot of upskirt
I mean,
shots.
it's and they're all look pretty young. Like it's kind of like, what is this? It feels almost out of place, even for him.
Yeah.
Which
Okay.
really nothing is out of place. But if you get through that first half hour, it makes sense thematically.
okay, interesting.
And it's fucking great. At least I thought so. I've been told that it's also the worst movie ever made. So who knows? Take my opinion, don't, whatever.
I think that with Sion Sono, like, it's one of those things where you just have to trust him to take you on a ride. And
Yeah.
by the end, it'll all, you know, come together. And I mean, even like one of my favorite movies of his is a movie called The Whispering Star.
I've never seen that one, no.
That one? Black and white, super quiet, very somber, like the complete total opposite of Why Don't You Play in Hell.
Okay.
And it's fantastic. But again, that's a movie where for the first part of it, you're kind of going, where is this movie going? And is it really going to go anywhere? And I'm a little bored. And
Yeah.
and you just sort of have to give yourself over to Sono and trust that he knows what he's doing. And then by the end, it's like this very, you know, emotional experience that really is pretty weighty. Yeah, Whispering Star is interesting. It's a black and white movie where I think it's his wife plays the lead role. I might be wrong about that, but she's a robot that's traveling around the galaxy,
Oh, I've heard of this one. Yeah.
And she like has to deliver stuff. But what's interesting is that all of the alien landscapes that she goes to are shot in the Fukushima like evacuation zones after the tsunami. And so
Wow.
and the actors are the people who were displaced from their homes that used to live there. And so she travels around this like sort of barren galaxy where every planet is these people who are in this like wasteland but are trying to act like life is normal. And so it becomes this huge, you know, sort of metaphor for you know, being a refugee in your own country sort of thing, and her being a robot trying to you know, relate to that and figure out what it means to be human. And so it's really interesting. Like there's barely any dialogue in it. I don't think there's any music at all. Wow. Like it's you know, and then we think of something like Why Don't You Play in Hell?
Right,
you know,
right.
You're going, damn, Sion Sono is like, I mean, this guy.
He's incredible. I mean, he does
yeah.
what, 2 movies a year almost? It feels like.
I mean, if not more. I mean,
Yeah.
the
I
guy's
feel like he just has a
constantly
lot
making
to
movies.
say, and he's better at saying it than most people.
Oh yeah, because each one of his movies has kind of a different message to it. Other than like the Hate trilogy, which is all kind of about like hate and love in different ways and forms and whatnot. But otherwise, and even those are all kind of distinctly different from what I can understand.
Well, and I think that especially, you know, I'm sure we'll talk about it here in a minute, but like Why Don't You Play in Hell, I think is him giving us a glimpse into how he makes movies. You know, it's like,
If this is how he makes movies, how is he still alive?
Yeah.
okay. Well, that's the thing is like, I mean, I don't know. Do we jump into it? Or
No,
what
we have
do
to do a 30-second breakdown first.
Okay, 30-second breakdown. That's my job?
Oh, it will be your job, but we have to get a camera on you first.
Fuck's sake. It's terrible.
So you're ready? You're excited?
Sure.
Both of those. All right, so here we go. Why Don't You Play in Hell in 30 seconds? Here we go, go, go!
Okay, so Why Don't You Play in Hell is about a Yakuza, a mob family, and a film crew. There's a little girl who is, oh god, this is gonna go by so fast. There's a little girl. She's a big commercial star. Her dad's a Yakuza boss. There's a rival Yakuza boss who's in love with her. There's meanwhile a film crew that wants to make an amazing movie. They end up making a movie that is of the Yakuza fight. And lots of people die, and it's all about filmmaking, and it's fucking awesome and bloody.
All right, I'll take it.
You got there. You got there.
Good Lord.
You started out slow, but you made it work
I
in
made
the end.
it work in the end. God.
I saw, it's great to have on camera the oh shit moment of when you're like, oh wait, I only have 30 seconds for this movie.
There's a lot that goes on in this movie.
Yeah, there is a ton, but you seem to be chomping at the bit. Where do you want to start with this?
I think the thing that struck me about this movie last night watching it again, and I've seen this movie probably 3 or 4 times now. The first time I saw it was a TIFF Midnight Madness movie, and I was lucky enough to be at TIFF
Nice.
at the midnight screening, which was I think maybe the world premiere of it. And I had never seen a Sion Sono movie before. And
I hadn't either before
And
this one.
all I knew was it was some crazy bonkers, Japanese action comedy thing. That I'm sitting there at midnight in a crowd of 2,000 people, with Sion Sono there, and like it just blew my fucking mind. And the thing about that first screening was what I took away from it was just how it no holds barred it was. It just said, fuck everything, and like we're gonna do whatever we want, and I left with this on a big high. Then I rewatched it again I bought it as soon as I got home, and I watched it again a couple times, and every time I found new stuff. But then last night, what struck me about it was now having written and directed an independent film. It hit me in a whole new way of that this is a movie about independent filmmaking, and this is a movie about the struggles and the battle that is making a movie fast and making a movie, on a limited budget, and making a movie, flying by the seat of your pants. From the setup of having, there's this, you have your actress who did one really big thing, that she hasn't really done anything in 10 years, but man, she did this commercial. You know,
It's very popular. They even mentioned like the commercial is so popular it's now like a hit radio song. Like,
Yeah,
they're
it's
listening
like
to it
this-
in like a truck at one point.
Yeah, it's like totally ridiculous. And then she grows up, you know, and becomes, you know, this hot young starlet that doesn't really want to be an actress, but her dad wants her to be an actress.
Yeah.
And, you know, you have all this stuff that is basically, you know, it's sort of like all the elements of a film that are, you know, like a powder keg that's like, okay, we got to make a movie about this, but how do we go about it? Meanwhile, you have this film crew that literally has been making a single trailer for like 10 years, and which is hilarious to me because I mean people do that, you know.
Oh yeah, I
We'll
know
get
people who do
funding at
this.
some point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If we just keep making the trailer better, they'll give us $10 million for it. It'll happen.
It's not an exaggeration, and you have, you know, and so there's your film crew, and they want to make this movie. This director really wants to make this movie, and then finally, when all the pieces randomly come together, you're able to make the film, and it's a fucking battle.
Yeah.
You know, and just the way that Sono takes all of that metaphor and slams it together into this totally ridiculous idea of, you know, of a director filming a Yakuza war. It's a really brilliant, you know, use of cinema for me, you know, because I think cinema is at its best when it takes something metaphorical and it makes it real, and that's how we, you know, and then we're visually able to connect with it. And I think Why Don't You Play in Hell? It's a total masterpiece for me. You know, and the fact that you have all these crazy characters that you actually care about. You know, you care about what's his name, the rival mob boss that's in love with the girl.
Right.
You know,
He's my favorite.
I mean, he's a total creeper, but you know, what's his name?
I
remember his name.
Muto's the main.
Ikigami.
Yeah, Ikigami.
Ikigami. Yeah.
Played by if I can say
Yeah.
this.
Good luck with that name.
Shinichi Sutsumi.
Tsutsumi. That sounds. Tsutsumi is the only part of that I think sounds close.
Yeah.
Either way, that guy's
terrible.
awesome.
That guy's awesome. And the other guy is the Muto.
Yeah, Muto.
Is
Muto.
he from Audition? Was that what he was in?
I know I've seen him in other things. It's been a long time.
Well,
since
he's
I've
in
seen
both the Kill
Audition.
Bill movies.
Okay.
Let me just click on his face really quick.
I got it right here.
Okay, fine.
I do not see him in Audition.
No, it says it right. It's one of the top 3.
Oh, is it?
On IMDb, yeah.
I don't
Audition.
know.
Audition.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Because he's the guy, right? He's the dude. That,
Oh, yeah.
But it's like, I mean, all the actors are great. You know, the gore is fucking hysterical.
The gore is like it brings like a level of like absurdity to like a movie that's like both absurd and very grounded at the same time.
Sure.
But like with that level of just like this real sloppy, messy, just spraying everywhere.
Yeah.
Like it's
I like
so
the
good.
combination of real prosthetics with the CG.
Yes.
Yeah. But like when you're just talking about the gore, like the first real instance of gore that you get is when the girl comes home and she's just standing like 6 inches of blood and she just goes sliding through it, and it's like
It's
so
a mess.
good.
We need to clean this up.
Yeah, and she just
Stop.
insult she just you pathetic man.
Well, that's what's great is like that like you said, it's like sort of it's surreal at times, but then it's oddly just very grounded, and he walks that tightrope like really expertly.
I'll try to. I'm not going to be negative about the movie because I love it, which is why I wanted to have been talking about it in an episode for so long. But there's something about this movie that I've recommended this movie to anyone who will listen to me talk about it, just because it's just so.
It's still a hard sell.
It is, and that's what I'm talking about. Like, it's like I think this movie just crackles off the screen with like this great attitude, and it's just like almost like punk rock. It's just awesome. But if all you do is watch the trailer, you think it's just going to be wall to wall action, and like there's actually a pretty decent, if not great, story in here that like really gets you attached to everybody. It's almost like he's not the best at this, but like Guy Ritchie, where he has like 12 different storylines going on that all somehow are about one storyline. This is the same sort of deal. But even with that, I've mentioned this to a few people who are just like, it was just kind of boring.
What?
Who said that?
I'm not going to name names, but I've been told by 3 of the people who recommended this to that it was boring.
I just don't
and it's under
understand
the
that.
same idea that Mad Max Fury Road was boring, whereas if everything's a 10, then nothing is. Which I think is interesting because this movie is all about firing on all cylinders at all times, but I think that's why it works. Because I think if it didn't, then you don't get the passion that the director has to make these movies. You don't get the passion that the dad has that he wants his daughter to be a star because her mom wanted her to be a star.
Yeah.
Like all of these emotions are at their peak, and that's why everyone's willing to die for it. So I think if the movie did dial things down to like a 7 or an 8 or something like that, and then had the bigger moments at the 10s, I don't think it would be as effective. I think that's why the movie works, because everyone and everything is life or death, and that's what makes the movie like. That's why I attach to it, because as somebody who's like tried to make movies and that didn't work, has made movies that didn't work, made one or two things that were okay. Like I get that whole like the next one's going to be the great one, the next one's going to be the best thing in the world, and I would die for it. And I think that's so there in the movie from everyone.
And the movie does a good job of telegraphing kind of its energy, its tonal shifts, its craziness, its absurdism. It does a very good job in the outset of doing that. So it's almost kind of like going back a couple episodes when we were talking about Free Fire and how that you had to be kind of on board with a lot of the nihilistic elements of it. That like this is meaningless. This is like this tells you what you're going to be in for this big weird ride that's just all metaphor, very wacky, very stylish, and like a girl slides a mile through bloody water and doors just kind of float away. Like the movie gets you there in the beginning. So it's like I don't get where I can see where the boring part is, but it's like the movie is kind of taking you on that, like it's telling you where it's going.
Yeah, I can understand if somebody says this movie was overwhelming for me.
Yeah,
you know, I can understand that. Boring is like definitely not a word I would use.
No, not at all.
Is it the same
from people when people that don't like reading subtitles that don't want to admit they don't like reading subtitles. Honestly, that's usually when I hear the word boring for this type of film.
But Sono's such a great filmmaker that I feel like you could turn the subtitles off and you'd still get 90% of the story. Because he's so good at visually telling things. I think you kind of get the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree
and
with that.
all the actors did such a good job. Like, I mean, I've seen it, so I can't do like a good litmus test, but I'm pretty sure I would understand at least 75% of what's going on in this movie had I not been able to read a thing.
I mean, this movie is, I think it's so different too from a lot of like American films in that, like you said, it's firing on all cylinders 100% of the time. So by the end, by that last shot, you're just, oh my God, oh my God, what was that? And I think that's I think that's maybe something that a lot of viewers over here maybe aren't used to.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely a formula that is sort of accepted in how a film should be made over here. And I think in Japan, there's definitely a sense of like, fuck it, do whatever you want. Be as weird as you want, be as wild as you want. And I think maybe viewers over there are a little bit more willing to go along for the ride, where something like this over here is like, whoa, wait, that doesn't follow the structure,
Well, as filmmakers here, we tend to be a little bit more on the conservative side in terms of plot structure, theme, and like tone. Like we tend to follow, like, even though we push that sometimes, like we still follow conventions. We still don't stray,
The 3-act structure gets boring. I mean, to me, that gets boring.
We don't do what the last scene of this movie does, which calls attention to the fact that this is a movie.
It's a movie, right?
Like we don't do that because our audiences, we as an audience aren't really jiving with that. Like that's not what we have been trained to do as movie watchers. So when we kind of come to this movie, it's like I could see why people would say it's boring, but maybe that's just because they just don't know how to approach it. Yeah. They have not seen enough of this or like movies even like Free Fire, which actually do like similar things in a different genre, a different space, where it's like you're not getting what you want, but you didn't know you kind of wanted it. Like
where you have, but that's also where you get into expectations,
right?
And then some people just get really frustrated when the movie doesn't fulfill their expectations.
And given the very Americanized trailer of this movie, there's no way that this movie could match those expectations.
No, because the trailer was our first exposure to it.
Yeah.
Like
Mine too.
The whole reason Brian and I even saw this movie was we were just lazily going through the Hulu trailers one night, and I went, "What's this? This looks interesting." We watched the trailer, and then we immediately kind of became obsessed.
Yeah.
With being like getting access to the movie and watching it. Then when we watched it in Chicago with a friend on their couch, and we were confused at first. We were like, well, this is not what I was expecting to get. And then we sat and we stayed with the movie, and then we loved it.
I think that's the thing, is you got to really just buckle yourself in and go, all right, I don't know what this is, but I'm going to watch it.
But I think you could say that about virtually any of his movies.
Sure.
Because they all kind of... And I think that's why it's kind of refreshing to watch things from other countries, but B, him specifically, is because you're going to get something different every time. Yeah. And it's something where like it's enjoyable just to go, all right, so why don't you play in hell? What the fuck is this going to be? All right, go for it. And like you could watch a trailer, you could not watch a trailer, whatever it is. And as long as you're just willing to let the movie be itself, then you could like it, not like it, whatever. But it's still like just being willing to go along for the ride. Like, this movie's a great fucking ride.
And you also have to be willing to kind of be aware that you're watching a movie. And I think part of an issue with people is that they want to escape into the movie and then they want to live in that suspension of disbelief.
But I think this is a movie you can totally escape into. Like, there's so many characters.
But I think it's just a different. You kind of have to do it a little bit differently than
Like-
how people might be used to.
See, I would liken this to like jumping into like a world of Edgar Wright's. Like, it's just so kind of ridiculous and fun, but like it would be like this world is just so interesting. Like, I love that, like the director making this movie, I forget the actor's name, or the character's name, but either the guy who's making the movies throughout the whole thing. I love how willing just to dive into it, and all of the fuck bombers, which is the name of his film crew, are just willing to just dive in and make this movie, where by the end of it, they're killing people. Like, they're like, yep, makes a better movie, and they're holding
they are literally dying for their art.
Oh yeah, and like
yeah.
Well, they're interesting to me because movies for their characters felt like a religion thing. Whereas so many people...
Well, it definitely is. They call it the god of film.
Well, that's where you get it. Like, so many people won't make a decision about their real passion until they get a sign. They need a sign to be able to do the thing, and their actor actually tries calling him out on that and be like, we've been talking about this for 10 years and we haven't done anything. And Harada, the director, is just like, but it'll happen. One day it'll happen. Like, he's just waiting for that one day. And he made his own little shrine where he puts little notes in to pray to the god of filmmaking, be like, give me that day. And then he does. He gets handed the day. So, of course, when they latch onto it, they're all in because they've been put their whole lives on hold for this moment.
Yeah.
And I love how they find his note via puke.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it is a very interesting kind of excuse me. A very interesting I'm dying. A very interesting way to bring that
Technical
religion to bear.
lung difficulties.
Right.
Well, I think really it's about how, as an artist, you have this drive that maybe other people don't understand. You know, that other people might go, "Why are you still like battling?" You know, and you know, trudging your way, you know, in this uphill battle to make a movie. When wouldn't it be so much easier just to, you know, get a 9-to-5 job and like not be, you know, killing yourself over this stuff. And I think this is a movie about those filmmakers that just they can't, which I imagine is probably where Sion Sono himself comes from. You know, just like, why does this guy make 2 or 3 movies a year? You know, which I'm sure, like, on a schedule like that, it must be exhausting and crazy, and he must never get any rest. And so I think this is a movie about why he doesn't stop, is because he has to. And I think as a viewer, if you can't really, I'm sure that there's a lot of people that just can't understand why, you know, why these people would put themselves through this. And, you know, especially at the end when they're making the movie itself, and they're you know, going through all this like torture and torment to do this thing. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are going, "Oh my God, I don't understand this at all." But I think there are people who are going, "Oh, fuck yeah, you know, if you care about something enough, you'll do that." And I imagine, I think that's probably how Sono is as a person.
Yeah.
I'm also interested just what part of Harada it is of the director. Just because Harada talks about how he just wants to make one movie. He has a entire monologue about directors who make multiple films and they may or may not be great. And we're like, and then at the end he's like, I just want to make one. I just want to make one great movie and then I'll die. Mm-hmm. And I mean, essentially he does that, even though he's the only one that survives the film. And since the director makes 2 a year, that's the polar opposite of him.
That's a good point. That's interesting. I mean, I wonder if that's him. You know, I wonder if it's him talking about, you know, himself as a kid, like trying to become a director. I wonder if it's, you know, condensing all of that just into, you know, the idea of making art and like just going, I just got to make one.
Or maybe that was just like, he's just could be capturing his youth of that's what he was thinking before. He just had to make that one movie, then made it, and then just kept making them.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's an interesting point.
Or he's like a Woody Allen guy who's like, I just don't think any of my movies are good.
I would hope
I
not.
keep making more, hoping to make that good one.
Yeah.
I would really hope not, because he's made some good shit.
But even it even calls to the end when it basically he moves out of frame, and you're aware that now we're on a set. It's almost like this weird transversal of time in the space of like maybe 5 seconds. Of like, yeah, he's the director. He did his first movie, and now he's making movies. Like it really asks you to make that jump of like his aspirations to make the movie. That's like breaking the seal, so to speak. And now that he's done that, we are now in the professional director. We are now in him later, years later.
Interesting.
Like a weird time kind of traversal.
Yeah.
So,
Which I found really kind of cool. Just like it was like a spiritual jump to the future. Just be like, oh, the fullness of time. I get it. You do it. You do it now. This is your thing. And you had to
And
really
you somehow didn't go to jail.
right. Somehow didn't go to jail for mass murder.
well, he didn't kill anyone. Everyone else killed people. I don't think he killed anyone though, did he?
It was like that weird complacency.
Oh, sure. I mean,
Well, I think that he's no. I think that he did. I mean, I think that he's. I think at the end, what Sono is telling us is this director left a mountain of bodies in his wake in the effort of making one movie, that is what making movies is about. That I think he's sort of like pointing the finger at himself a little bit and saying, yeah, at the end of this, every actor is exhausted and dead. The camera crew, like everybody's dead, but it's all in the service of making this thing. And, sort of talking about like the inherent kind of, I don't know what the word would be, like selfishness or something of a director that is like, this is my vision and we're all going to do it and at any cost. And I think that that's kind of what he's getting at is that, at the end, man, only the director's left, and he's like, fuck everybody. We made it.
And there's a very high rate of divorce and such in cinema.
Yeah.
You're going to lose your family.
Well, I love, too, how I love how, like, one of the sort of heroes of the whole thing is the sound guy.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
Just the sweat dripping down his face, still rolling.
Yeah. It's so good. It's all those little elements, because, like, that often is your savior on a film set. It's the sound guy.
Yeah.
The quiet dude in the corner. And it's just, it made me laugh last night watching that and just going, yeah, he's just talking about.
Even its placement in the production itself being so far like late into the production of it, that it's like, this is like timeline wise, that's when, you get the sound guy. Oh, we need a sound guy. Good sound guy. Thank you for being good.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh.
The one thing I liked about the sound guy in particular is that we're getting really caught in the weeds of like the filmmaking aspect of this movie, but like there is still a story here, and it's a very good story. And as the filmmaking starts going nuts and Looney Tunes and crazy and awesome, the sound guy is the one who brings us back into reality. Like
Where he shoots him?
When he shoots, I keep forgetting character names. Ikigami. When he shoots him, it's like, oh shit, like. No, this is still definitely a war, because like when they're all fighting with samurai swords, yes, people are getting cut up and limbs and body parts, but because there's so much limbs and body parts and everything, it's almost comical. Not even almost, it is comical.
It is comical.
And it's funny and it's fun, and then the guy gets shot, and it's like everyone's just like, oh shit, was that a gunshot? And then it just gets real. Like
And somehow the camera guys get automatic weapons.
Yeah, well, or like when the boyfriend gets the sword through the head.
Oh, yeah.
It's his final sort of moment laying down and seeing Mitsuko, is her name? Seeing Mitsuko and saying thank you. Like, that's such a touching moment.
Oh yeah.
And like you said, it grounds all this insanity in something really like very real.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to do.
I don't think if this movie didn't have like that emotional like hit to it, like how Muto wants to make the movie or wants his daughter to be in a movie for his wife. Like there's like these real like
That poor wife who's going to get out of jail, and she's like, they made a movie, but I'm alone.
yeah. But like
She might be happy with just the movie. I don't know.
yeah, who knows? I don't remember what I was gonna say, but there is something to it where it's just like that real emotional connection to this thing is, for me, what makes the movie work. Because if it wasn't for that, it would just be kind of a fun romp, like a 2 out of 4 stars. Like, oh yeah, they all kind of kill each other.
Well,
and it's really well done.
Then it would be boring.
Yeah,
it would be
exactly.
Yeah. No, I agree completely.
Do you guys think that the police force was the production company, like the distributor, where they come in at the end and they have a lot of notes and they just kind of bulldoze everything?
Sure.
I mean,
think
sure, it could be.
That's a total way to read it. Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know what the Japanese film market's like, but if this was an American film, oh, absolutely. They'd all
just
be wearing
come
little
in
like
and they
WB
just start
badges.
shooting room to room. All right, next.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah.
They're reshoots. We're not happy with this director. Let's go in and reshoot everything.
Oh, now they'd be wearing little mouse symbols.
Yeah.
Except I'm still okay with that firing. Totally okay with it.
Well, yes.
Actually, both of them for me, but that's okay. I want to talk a little bit about Mitsuko, because I think she's she's the driving force of the entire movie. Even though there's really no main character, but I think like if you go thematically, it'd be the director.
She's technically the first face we see.
Yeah, she
We
is.
see the commercial
Because we get that
first.
commercial first, the commercial that starts basically everything. But I've been looking her up because I don't know. Her name is Fumi Nakiato. Sorry, Fumi. And she doesn't have a lot that like even really available in the States. She's done a lot of TV specials, like that sort of stuff. I think she is fantastic in this movie, though.
Yeah.
Because I think she had to be. Like, it's really kind of like a make or break role. Like, and it's kind of how they were talking about the girl who was in the movie that replaced her. It's like, without her, this thing doesn't work. And it's the same for this movie. Like, there has to be a reason why the guy gets a sword through his head. Both her dad, both the other guy, like, everyone is just obsessed with her. And I think if you didn't somewhat understand that, I don't think the movie would work.
It's the star power.
Well,
Charisma.
yeah, I think it's that, and I think it's interesting that she is, kind of not like. It's not like she's all that into wanting to be a star as an adult. She was this big star as a kid, and sort of everyone around her is obsessed with her, and she's sort of, pushing everybody away. She doesn't give a fuck about anybody, and I think that's sort of interesting about how then. By the end, I think she really does care about the boyfriend, about the and I'm calling him the boyfriend because I can't think of I can't think of his name, and
One Day Lover.
but it's like this
Mr. Gasp.
Koji.
Gasp Koji.
Yeah.
That's a cool name. But how her, I feel like her whole arc is about finding a meaningful human connection.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, because
and she gets it.
Because she left the film to be with her boyfriend, who then immediately cheated on her.
Yeah.
So she doesn't kill him, but she definitely ruins a good portion of his life. But I was going to say, there's a part of me that thinks that she'd be happier going into the family business, if you will.
Sure.
She really takes to violence like there's no problem with it whatsoever. She shoves a bunch of glass in a dude's mouth and then cuts the shit out of him. Like she really is cool being a badass. Like she's just totally fine just murking people.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there was either a version of the script or if there was something where she was like in line to be in part of the family, like the actual Yakuza part of it, or if because she's a woman there was really just no place for her in that, and that's just kind of her lot in life.
Well, I think her whole family is so obsessed with the fact that she was a star that they don't want, that's she's just doing whatever they want her to do. I think they're trying to make her the new family business, her being this movie star because of this fucking commercial she did when she was 8.
Oh yeah.
And I think that is her lot in life. It's she wouldn't be a part of the mob family business because she's supposed to be a star.
Yeah.
And she's, and I think maybe that's, another, bit about her character that's interesting is that she's like any number of like kid stars that maybe don't want to do it anymore. Like the kid who played Joffrey in Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah.
After he got killed off, he just said, I don't want to act anymore. I don't want to do this.
Well, everyone was mean to him.
Well, sure, but even then it's like, I from what I understand, and I don't know much about it, but from what I understand, he was like, I don't think acting's for me. And I'm sure that he got pressure from lots of people saying, no, you got to keep going.
Yeah.
And that's got to be really hard.
This is an interesting, also, if you want to read into it, but child stars and the kind of the strife, the perversion, the kind of just how it ruins a lot of kids' lives. And this is kind of an interesting little metaphor to that too, which I kind of read. I saw that this time around. I was like, oh, dang, that's right. Like,
Crunch,
kids...
crunch.
I'm sorry. I'm chewing ice.
I mean, it's just really the expectations when you're a child star. Everyone has, like with Joffrey, an expectation of what they're going to be doing afterwards, how they're going to grow up. Specifically, like the kid from The Sixth Sense. Are you going to grow up to be attractive and a leading man? And then he grew up and he still looked exactly the same as he did when he was younger, just a larger version.
Bigger and a little pudgier, but he's still a good actor.
Like, he's still a good actor, but he didn't fulfill the expectations of like facially maturing, I suppose.
Sure.
Because It was hard. I just imagine it was hard for people to take him seriously when he still has a very childlike face.
Yeah.
Well,
So they didn't fulfill expectations, and then therefore they didn't cast him.
But I feel like she could have fulfilled those expectations. Like, she still has a look. She's still charming. People still love her.
It's whether or not people like that.
But I don't think it matters what people like. It matters what she likes.
That's
and
what I
she
mean. Whether or
didn't
not
like it.
those
Oh,
people
yeah,
with
yeah.
the expectations put upon them, whether
Yeah.
or not they want it.
And I think Graham's right. I don't think she has an interest in being an actress. Like, it just kind of feels like my dad, who's a mob boss, tells me I have to do this, so I guess I better do this. And she just has no interest in it.
They have to tie her up to a chair where she's been trying to get away.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They literally tie her to a chair so she can't leave. Yeah, it's,
You will act, damn it.
Yeah, I think that the other thing about child stars is that they are forever compared to who they were. You
Yeah.
know, and I think if you're not that, then all of us have the ability to change. Like we were talking about it, before and one major element of the book, is that these kids grow up and we see the difference in who they are as adults versus kids. And so I think of we're talking about this, I think of the character of Ben, who's he's the fat kid in the book, and spoiler alert, but when he grows up, he's like super hot and fit. And I think like if we look at that as sort of metaphor for the ability to redefine yourself as you grow up, that's something that Mitsuko's unable to do because she's forever being compared to her 8-year-old self that sang this fucking dental song, and that's all she's ever going to be, and that's like incredibly depressing. It's got to be super hard to grow up and have that be. I mean, that's your legacy. You already did it.
Yeah. You peaked at 8.
Yeah.
Way to go.
And even, especially in Japan, where they have, at least from our American lens, a very severe fetishization of young schoolgirls.
Sure.
So she would have been, as with the other mob boss, romanticized her entire life.
Yeah. I'm probably way off the mark here, and maybe it's just my own, innocence, but I never really took that as romantic from him.
Oh,
He was in love
Did
with
you?
her.
Oh, yeah.
I see. I thought as him in love with her, but I never. I mean, I guess when she was older, it made more sense to me. But it just never felt like it. Always felt to me like he wanted to be her dad, which I guess daddy, and then it gets gross again. But
Oh, I didn't think that at all. I think he was. I mean, he wanted to bone that 8-year-old girl.
you think so?
Oh yeah, I think so. I think that
I think that's why like the last thing he sees is her in that like 8-year-old kind of state. As
Yeah.
he's dying there, like he doesn't
Yeah,
see her as
you're
herself.
probably right. It's just me just not wanting
like-
people to be pedophiles.
But I mean, I guess in that case, the version of daddy we've come to kind of at still applies.
Yeah, no, definitely. But again, it's a mixture of me not wanting people to be pedophiles and me going, I really like that guy. Like he's such a good actor.
He
my
he
gosh.
is so lovable, and it's that goofy smile thing he does.
Oh yeah.
I just love his face.
His face is
Yeah.
so fun.
Yeah.
He is such an expressive, animated face. Like he almost feels like a living cartoon to me when I watch this movie.
There's that scene when they're when the director calls him to try to convince them to be okay with this whole thing, and it's like, and we have Mitsuko here, the one who sings the song, and then he starts singing the song, and when they start cutting back between the two of them singing the song together, fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Because they just come back to him for one word, and it's when they go, "Let's fly," and it's just him going, "Fly."
And then he does that hip dance in front of her picture as they're all like waiting for him, and he's like, ooh, 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 and it's like, what is going on? And even his like kind of having them all go back into the kimonos, and like
That's one of my favorite moments in the entire movie. When he's just telling the guys what they need to change. You, shave off that beard. Shave it. All right, go.
okay,
Go. It's just so good.
and I think that's kind of why that works. Like it's because they're all so charismatic. Like
yeah. Even though the dude is lusting after an 8-year-old girl, you
Right.
still like kind of love him because he's kind of adorable in his own weird
is.
way.
Yeah.
And that's I think the power of Sono's world building, right? Is that he's got all these bizarre characters, and yet you care about every single one of them.
And he loves the camera. He loves being. He thinks the idea of being in the movie is wild. And I love seeing those shots where he's just like, he's standing back to back with the guy he's trying to kill, and he's like smiling at the camera, like, "Ha, yeah," posing, doing like fun poses.
Well, at one point, doesn't he kills like 8 people in a row, like, and the camera's there, and he stops and he looks at the camera and mugs and flashes a peace sign to them.
Peace.
And it's just like, yeah, it's. I mean, I don't know what he stands in for, but he's hilarious.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what part of filmmaking he exactly represents, and I'm not sure either. But I do know that the father, the more traditional looking mob boss, represents the executive producer.
Sure.
Because trying to
well,
get...
they have that entire speech about like how much money am I going to give you?
Totally,
I love that
the executive
speech.
producer.
That entire speech is so great. It's like, are you a breakfast, a lunch, or a dinner?
How
And he's
much
like,
money?
Breakfast. I'm breakfast. I'm definitely breakfast. And he hands him like a dime. Are you sure you're not more? And it's just like, fuck.
Well, and it plays into their whole like wanting to be cool too, because the speech itself, separated from the movie, is like, oh, that's typical. Like you're gonna put that in a Yakuza movie. You're gonna put that in a mob movie. Or it's like, are you the breakfast, the lunch, or the dinner? I've got an offer for you. And it's like, no, they all want to be cool.
Yeah,
Well, that layer on top
point.
is like, this is so cool. Are you cool? I'm cool.
That's the whole movie, and it kind of what the film industry is. It's a lot of people wanting
Being
to be
really
cool.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone wants to be the cool kids. I mean, that's,
And nostalgia.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, it's all there. What haven't we talked about in this that we want to hit on a little bit more? Sure, there's something. There's a lot to unpack in this movie.
I think maybe my favorite scene in the movie is when it's at the end and again, it should be noted, if you haven't seen this movie, go watch the goddamn movie.
Oh yeah.
We haven't spoiled too much.
No, but we're going.
I don't think we could, because that's not the
It's
thing.
so experiential. You
Yeah,
know?
I mean, you can know that everyone dies, and it's like it'd be. I think it'd be more problematic if one person died. It's like, oh, now I know who
Yeah.
dies, but no, it's everyone, and that's not the point of the movie.
The cover of the DVD is just a pile of bodies with a camera rising through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my favorite scene of the movie is when it's after, everything's happened. It's at the very, very end, and our director, is staggering down the street, covered in blood, holding all the film stuff.
He's shot.
And he's shot.
Shot twice.
And it cuts to the premiere in the movie theater, and the whole cast and crew is there, and everybody, even the guy that got his head chopped off,
Yeah.
they just have gauze,
Yeah.
that are wrapped around, and everybody's cheering for them, and I guess it's insinuated that that's kind of a dream sequence a little bit, but I just love how at the end, Sono really blends this, blurs this line of of the meta moment of like, we are making a movie, this is a movie, and yes, these people are all still alive, but they did all sacrifice so much to make what we made.
Yeah.
I think it's a really, it's just such a non-traditional way of talking about movie making, and especially at the end, then, to literally have the camera to hear cut, and to see at the end of all of this, to see, like a PA like walking out, and somebody like walks across camera.
Yeah.
It's just so like revelatory. It's like such an amazing. It's the only way that you could have ended this movie.
Oh
you
yeah.
know?
I totally agree, because I think if you try to go like too in story, it wouldn't have worked. If you try to go too experimental, it wouldn't have worked. Like it just kind of like, this would be a rough movie to sit down and try to figure out an ending for, and like this is a perfect way to end it.
End it like a movie actually ends.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we're going home. Bye.
Done.
Yeah. I've been here for 16
get out
hours.
of here
and-
before meal penalty hits.
Yeah. For me, the one scene that like I just never remembered it. And even Chewie mentioned when we were watching it last night. Like, I don't remember this scene at all. But watching it last night, it's the scene that made me laugh the hardest. And it's when they go to get the director, because they found his prayer in the puke box and whatnot, and they're talking to him. They get him to go. He's like, well, I can't. I'm in the middle of a date. I'm like, well, your date doesn't have to end. And they cut to the van, and he's still hitting on the girl that was in the bar with him, still going through this whole long explanation of why they should or shouldn't kiss. And she goes, oh, you could kiss me. And then just everyone in the van, one by one, you should do it. Yeah, I think you should do it. Yep, go for it.
No, now I can't do it.
But it's such this like little funny moment in like this very like different movie. Like, it almost feels out of place, but it still works so well. Like, I love that moment.
Well, it does a thing too for like these super hyper violent people that it's like they're still human, and they still have like a way of seeing like romance and dating, and it just adds that extra layer of humanity to something that's about to not be.
Actually, it adds a layer of humor to me in just like Hollywood, though.
Yeah.
Of the person who is very charismatic, hasn't achieved success yet, but when he's on a date, he will just talk about his impending success and how that woman should love him for it.
Yeah, just go hit on anybody in a bar in Hollywood. You'll have this experience.
You'll learn how everyone is the most special person in that room.
Oh yeah, they all are. We're all perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's there's another great scene. There's a moment where Mitsuko and you know her one day love are sitting in like a parking garage or something, and it's where she, you know, and this is in the middle of like one of the big climaxes of the movie, and then it cuts to this really quiet scene where you know she says, you know, I've never actually had a real kiss. I've never, you know, really, it's always been on camera, and I've never actually had one. And you know, and she tells him that he can kiss her, and it's like this really adorable moment, you know, and it's I guess it's part of his whole cocaine thing. Remember when he does all the cocaine, then it like flashes back, and I don't know, I just I think that that's a part of this movie that I love so much, is that we go to these like just totally insane moments, but then Sono brings us back and reminds us like what's really important, to let us, you know, really, you know, to remind us why we're caring about these people. It's really it's really masterful.
A lot of anime will do that too. So like I felt like I felt used to that kind of thing going into a movie like this. But I could feel like someone that we would recommend a movie to this that maybe isn't jiving with it would consider like that a weird aside. Like, why now? Why when everything's just about to get all hectic? It's like that's where it's the most important for stuff like this that pushes the boundaries of time.
Yeah.
Well, especially since we're just about to lose both those characters, you know. And this really, and it just makes it that much more heartbreaking. Whereas I think if you didn't have that scene, I wonder if it would have played funnier, you know, or played more as
we would have wondered what she saw in him.
I mean, I still
it really made their connection stronger.
Yeah.
Like it made you understand why he didn't just run away, where he promised not to run away from her.
Well, I mean, I got that from the very beginning of the movie when he's watching the commercial and his dad or whoever just makes the joke, "What is that, your girlfriend?" He's like, "Huh? Girlfriend?" And
and it really pays that off.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
Which we need that at other end, that reciprocation. Like he finally achieves it.
Yeah,
even if they just horribly die afterwards, it's like they have their romance that lasts forever.
And it's not like a creepy thing. It's not like, I see this girl in this commercial, I want her. You know, it's not like he's so not a proactive guy, and he's so just along for the ride that it's all. I mean, to me, it's adorable, and you really, you know, and he ends up, you know, dying a hero.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
He really seemed to want to love her. He didn't just want things from her, which a lot of the other characters did, where they wanted her to fulfill their actual expectations, and he just wanted to experience being with her.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's why he gave her the money back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 'Cause she gave him a shit ton of money, and he's like, I don't want the money. I just, you know, we're going to be together for a day. Let's be together for a day. That's enough payment for me. I was like, oh. Yeah.
It's cute.
You poor dumb guy.
It's the nice guy actually being the nice guy.
Yeah.
Where there's a lot of tropes you could follow. You could fall into the nice guy finish last crap, where then he just turns out to be a douche. But,
yeah, no, he wasn't a douche.
Yeah.
But he definitely did finish last.
Yeah.
And with a sword through his head.
Well,
and you know the thing was, I still laughed when he died. Like, I feel kind of bad about it. Not right when he died, but when he comes through the wall.
3 times.
Yeah.
He died. He had 3 deaths, kind of.
But the slow sword through the wall, I was like, what the hell is this?
It's
Just
really
his head
funny.
just comes through with it. It's like, oh.
It's like this weird unicorn wandering around.
That adds a great layer to the whole like nice guy thing. Is like the nice guy of this portrayal is a unicorn. I know, right?
Chewie,
I love this movie.
Disapproves?
I really like that.
All right, well, we're getting pretty close to the end of this thing. Is there anything that we have not touched that we want to? I mean, we haven't really talked about the filmmaking of the actual movie much, both beyond design and just saying it's crazy. Anything that we want to hit?
I mean,
it's energetic, and I say that as someone.
The technical aspects of it is great. The sound is great. The way it's shot, the color.
Well, even the little touches of like things like, you know, when, you know, somebody flashes a peace sign, you hear a ding.
Yeah.
You know, it's unafraid to kind of throw that shit out there and not be tied down to any kind of constraints.
Yeah. I mean, the long and short of this, before we jump into quotes here in a second, if you have not seen it, or if you've not seen any of his movies, I mean, he makes so many. There's terrible ones, there's great ones. But I really don't think you could go wrong picking, like, if you see one on any streaming service, you could turn it on and you will have an experience.
Yeah.
And it will probably be a good one. You might find a bad one here or there. Like, you go back to like his earlier stuff, like Suicide Club, which was great, but it's still also it's a little dated now, and it's not quite as shocking as it once was, but it's still a good movie.
My recommendation, if you're going to watch this movie for the first time, is I think get like 3 people together that all have very different taste in movies.
Yeah.
And nobody watch a trailer. Nobody, don't give yourself any kind of expectation. Just sit down and watch it and go along for the ride. And I really would be interested to hear, what people's experiences are. Especially if you have somebody that I'm really into comedy, somebody I'm really into horror, somebody I love, Howard's End is my favorite movie, and just see what everybody thinks.
Yeah, and if you like this one, this would be a good kind of, if you like this, you're probably going to like his other stuff.
Yeah.
You could take a shot at Love Exposure, which is a hell of a movie.
Oh my God, have any of you seen Love and Peace?
Mm-mm.
Oh my God.
What's that one about?
It's his Christmas movie?
No.
Oh my God, you guys! I don't know where you can find it. Look up Love and Peace.
Okay.
It's fucking phenomenal. It rivals this as my favorite Sono movie.
Wow.
It's amazing.
So my favorite I think it'll be tough to beat Love Exposure. That movie is just it's near perfect, and even though it's 4 hours and 20 minutes long, it's a hell of a sit. But my God, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
But that's how I kind of feel about all of his movies. Every one I've watched, I'm like, well, that was a hell of a ride. Even if I don't particularly love it, they're still fucking good movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's jump into quotes.
Mine, I'll go first because somebody might steal mine. I don't know. Gnash your teeth. Let's fly. That's my favorite.
I mean, it works.
I just like it when, I don't know if it's supposed to be just his concubine hooker or whatever,
Well, was it a breakfast or lunch?
Not that guy, not the other mob boss.
Okay.
The one with the expressive face. Right after he gets out of being stabbed and stuff, and he goes to her, and she's wearing her kimono, and she's...
Oh, yeah.
I forgot the line. I'm sorry I didn't write it down. But it's kind of like whenever you want to be prepared, wear a kimono or something.
When you prepare for the worst,
when you prepare for the worst, wear a kimono, and then ding in his brain. That was fun. And then you got to the big kimono scene afterwards.
Yeah, it's pretty great. John?
Come back to me.
Okay, so mine, it's right after they decide to both make the movie and kill everyone while making it. And obviously the mob boss is far more excited about making the movie than everyone else, and everyone else just wants to go on the raid. So the mob boss goes, let's make a movie, and everyone goes, yeah! And then one of the guys goes, and go on a raid too! Yeah!
Okay. Yeah, okay, so I've got one, and it's similar. It's near that scene where he takes 10 seconds to write the script, and then he's are you all ready? And they're yeah, ready. It's one guy's like, well, we're not confident, but we're ready, and we'll die for it. And I'm like, that is a summation of what we do out here.
Yeah, that's so good.
I'm not confident, but we're gonna do it and die trying.
All right, so review system for today is gonna be movies about making movies. Any and all.
I will go with one of the recent ones that other people also say is very boring. Hail Caesar.
Oh, okay.
I really enjoyed Hail Caesar. I know a lot of people said it's also racist, but I mean, it's a movie about making movies in the 40s. It was racist time, quite the bit so. And
that was a subtitle for that era. Racist time.
Yeah. I mean, granted, apparently it hasn't actually changed, and we just put a nice gloss over it for the last 60 years.
As we're finding out.
But a lot of people say Hail Caesar is really boring, and I'm like, actually, it's got quite a fun little thing into it about what it's like to make a movie, how to manage a studio, and witch hunting, about communism and such.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with the movie Full Frontal. Not the greatest movie in the world, but I think it leans into this very well. Of Full Frontal, if you haven't seen it, is a movie about making 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 a movie. And it's kind of this interesting thing of you never really are sure if you're watching the story or if you're watching something about making the story. And it just constantly keeps blurring those lines in a way that I thought was really interesting and great. And everyone I saw it with back in high school went, you're a fucking moron, this movie was garbage. I'm like, no, it was brilliant! But I was also 16 and stupid, and I haven't seen it since I was that old. But there's something about this movie where it also kind of blurs the lines of reality a little bit, and I think it reminded me of Full Frontal in that way. And in Full Frontal, you get to see David Duchovny's dick, so Check it out.
Win.
I really liked his butt in Evolution.
Oh, there you
I
go.
haven't seen his dick.
Well, you need to see Full Frontal.
Okay.
You get the full Duchovny.
If I have your approval.
I'm gonna go with Ed Wood.
Okay, yeah.
I love Ed Wood. I love that movie so much. It might be sort of an easy answer, but I think that that often gets sort of forgotten when people are talking about Tim Burton or when people are talking about like film history, and I don't know how accurate it necessarily is, but I think you have this movie about sort of in the same way of like this guy that he just really wants to make a fucking movie. And here is Ed Wood, and especially in the wake of talking about like the old Universal monsters, his relationship with Bela Lugosi, and that
isn't he
whole
dead?
arc.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, Ed Wood, love that movie.
I was actually going to say, like, my favorite thing in Ed Wood is the running gag of "Isn't he dead?" And then this movie has the running gag of the song.
My favorite thing in Ed Wood is them lying to their investors.
Yeah.
This is gonna be kind of obvious, but I think I'm picking it because they make me laugh in kind of both the same way. Which, do the math on that, is Singing in the Rain.
Yes, good.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah,
I just watched that the other day.
such a good movie.
Yeah.
It's such a good movie, and I know it's the top on any list of movies about making movies, but it's jokes about sound. Laugh in the same way, like it's very spot on with the process of it, and even at the time with the way those movies were shot and staged, it's so constructed of a movie too that you're aware of. Like as you watch more of these movies and kind of start getting that language, and you're like, this is still like everything's a stage. They're dancing on stages, and it just so draws attention to the fact that this is a movie, and this is a movie being made at the same time in the same way. And I think they are both very, very funny.
Well, and it's, I'm a musical theater guy, and like the dance sequences in that movie are just, you watch them today, they're still unparalleled. It's a fucking phenomenal movie.
I think the way that the dance numbers in that movie are unparalleled, the violence in this is unparalleled in terms of how both of those function in the movie as both the same way. Like, there's a great joy in the violence in this movie, and there's a great joy in the dance in that movie. So that's my connection for that.
Yeah, that one really works. That was everybody, right?
Yeah. There's only 4 of us.
Yep, that makes sense. That's how you count.
Well, the Gimp, and the Gimp can't speak.
Yeah,
He's
of
got
course.
The ball gag in his mouth.
That poor bear doesn't have any vocal cords left, so that's everyone then.
The gimp's inside the bear.
He's toasty. Okay, so that brings today's episode to a close. Quick plugs for upcoming episodes. I made a joke about it earlier, but we're going to talk about it next week. We got Tom Cruise's The Mummy.
Oh.
Woo!
I love that we're going from polar opposites.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to go from good to really,
to really something else.
I like watching Tom Cruise run, so I'm sure I'll find some joy in that.
But just get the montage of him running.
I gotta see it. I'm really just putting it on here to force myself to watch it. So
okay.
we will see what it's like. And then the week after that, we got Wonder Woman, and I'm very excited for Wonder Woman.
Oh, cool!
I love Wonder Woman. So you can check us out www.athpod.com. Follow us on Twitter, @ATH_podcast. Everywhere else, just ATH Podcast. Make sure you're checking out our Spotify playlist. We don't have a ton of subscribers on there yet, but I keep being told that everyone's listening to it. I'd recommend that you subscribe because you get the new one every week. I would just like to hear
what people think of our musical taste.
Yeah, they're a little batty.
And if I've gotten anyone over to Nightwish.
No.
I keep putting Nightwish
I'm guessing
in there.
no.
Other people need to enjoy Nightwish.
So this past week's was all from the movie It. That should still be up there today if you're listening today. It'll change tomorrow to our theme for the movie Mother, which is just Jennifer's. And we're just kind of going nuts with it. So it's anything either about a Jennifer, by a Jennifer, that makes you think the word Jennifer, anything Jennifer. So that'll be a fun playlist because I'm just going a little bit more absurd with that one. Anything else? Play our game.
Play our game. We got a few people already doing it and getting the points.
Yep. That's our tip of the brain game. And if you go online now, there's rules that John has put on there. And basically just message us, and that's how we do it. So you can no longer have all the answers spoiled for you and just get a bunch of pity points.
Yeah. No one wanted to do the pity points.
Yeah, so
weirdly enough,
but it's a good game and it's tough. So bring your
keep guessing.
Knowledge.
Like wrong guesses don't mean you can't keep guessing. Like keep trying.
Yeah, keep trying until you get it.
Yeah,
like making a movie.
Exactly.
Yeah, very much so.
And speaking of making a movie, Graham, what's your movie called again?
Sequence Break.
Sequence Break.
Sequence Break.
And we'll be able to find that in Shudder at some point next year?
Yes, yeah, it'll be out on Shudder, and yeah, if you're in LA, come on by Beyond Fest, October 8th. It's going to be super fun.
Awesome.
At the Egyptian.
At the Egyptian.
Anything else you need to plug?
No, I mean, Sequence Break has sort of been my life of late. So,
cool.
But yeah, I mean, other films you can find Beyond the Gates, Almost Human, The Mind's Eye. You can find all those movies around.
It's almost like you're working in the industry or something.
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, thanks, guys, for having me on. This was super fun.
Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you so much for coming. Okay, so that's it for today.
Bye.
Polka Bombers!